Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. If it's your first time joining, thank you. If you're a previous subscriber or a new subscriber, welcome back. Okay, so in today's project, you can see that we are going to be working with some bags. I have been asked to make some tote bag sets for my sister-in-law. I had made a set for her, both sister-in-laws, and they one of them really liked them, so she asked me if I could make 4 different sets for her so she could share with her ladies group. She's got a group of friends that they go on a yearly trip together, and she asked me to make them for her as her surprise gifts for her friends. So we're going to go ahead and start those. The first set I'm going to be making will be for a friend of mine, and this is going to just be so I can get back in the hang of using the large machine. I haven't used it in probably maybe 2 months, and I just want to kind of just get back into the hang of it. So I'm going to do an easy stitch out on the first set. And that's just going to give me a little warm up on using the multi-needle machine. Okay, so first what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you about the bags and then a couple little steps that I do before I hoop the bag and get it onto the machine. Okay, so first I purchased these bags at Hobby Lobby. And you can see that I have 4 different bags here. We have the tote bag, I have a flat bag, a bag that matches the tote bag exactly with the black stripe on the bottom, and then we have a smaller bag. And this smaller bag, it doesn't have the measurements listed on the tag, but I have my handy dandy quilter ruler here, and it measures 6 3/4 by 4.5. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. So they have all zippers on them, and I really like the fact that the zippers are actually a really nice quality zipper. I have seen some tote bags that the zippers are really cheap zippers, and I just did not like them. And when I found these bags at Hobby Lobby, I kind of fell in love with them, and I have bought a lot of these bags. I have ones that have leather handles or leather straps on them, and then I just have some simple canvas ones. I do have some cotton ones that I have shared in previous videos that I have purchased at Walmart, and I just do not like the quality of those. I will do some embroidery on them later, as I think I'm going to do them like some library bags that maybe I can take to my local library and maybe sell there. I'll have to talk to my library and see if they'll let me do that. Okay. Before I get any further into this video, you guys might see some, I don't know if you guys can see the redness all over my arms and here. So that's going to be in the video. It's been probably about a week since I finished up the Fresh Diamonds quilt, and I have taken a little bit of time off to just kind of relax a little bit. And we took a trip and did some fishing, and as you can see, I got sunburnt. I don't know if the camera is doing it justice, but you can see that I have some really bad sunburn here on my arms, and I did have my watch on when I don't know if you guys can see that difference there and all right here. But my arms are pretty sore. I have been putting some hydrocortisone and some, it's called After the Burn, And what it is, it's an aloe vera gel that kind of helps with sunburns and things like that. So yeah, I've been using that, and this is just from yesterday. The sunburn is from yesterday, so it is still pretty hot to the touch. But if you guys see, if you guys are able to tell in the video that my arms are pretty red as I'm working, you'll know what that is. Okay, back to the bags. Okay, so I purchased all of these bags at Hobby Lobby, like I was saying. And this first bag was the 4.5 by 6 3/4. There are a couple little Luna hairs on it, and you can see she's got her little foot here, and she's laying up here on top of the FAF machine. It's her favorite spot. I keep the top of the machine closed when I'm not using it, and she knows if the top of the machine's closed, she's able to be on the table up here or in her basket that's back here behind the machine. So you may see her little nose here in the video. Okay, I keep getting sidetracked a little. Okay, so back to the bags. This first bag I paid 99 cents for. It's just called a small cotton zipper pouch. And again, Hobby Lobby. These are all in, it says that they are in the paper crafts area, but if you go to Hobby Lobby and you know where like the wearable art sections are, like for the t-shirts, the hats, things like that, that's the area that these are going to be in. I don't know why they call them paper crafts. I really don't know, but that is in the area that you can find them. So again, the first bag, 99 cents. The second bag measures 9.5 inches by 6.5 inches by 2. And when you open it up, you can pop it kind of open at the bottom, and you can see that it has kind of like the squared bottom, or the boxed bottom, I guess you would call it. And this is a really nice size bag. I was thinking, you know, maybe that this would be a great set as a carry-on if you're going on a flight or if you're going on a trip. You can just have little things in here for easy access. So this one I paid $1.49 for, and again it is 9.5 by 6.5 by 2 inches. And again, really nice zippers. So there's that one, and again $1.49. This next bag I also paid $1.49 for, and it's just a flat bag, just really simple, folded over flat bag. Again, really nice zipper. And I thought these would be really nice that if you take electronics with you. Let me show you here. Please excuse my beat up case. I do a lot of reading, and I take a Kindle with me whenever we go on trips. If I go to a doctor's office or anything like that, if I'm not reading an actual book, I will take a Kindle with me. I have had, oh God, these are my fourth, I think. This is my fourth Kindle. The first Kindle I killed because I read it so much, it just would no longer charge, and I just wore the thing out completely. This was my second. It's just a little Kindle Fire 7-inch tablet, and I would read on this for everything, do some searching and things like that. And you can tell by the case that it's pretty beat up. But I thought that this bag would be the perfect bag to organize things like this, so you can put your Kindle right inside of it. If you didn't have a case, it would be perfect because you wouldn't scratch your screen or anything like that. So it'd be a nice way to keep your Kindle scratch-free and inside a case or a bag if you're taking it with you traveling. I do have a second or fourth one here, and this is just a little Kindle touch screen, and I keep these with me. This one's the perfect size for in a purse or, again, carry-on. And you can see Luna with her little tail. What are you doing, little one? What are you doing? I'm working. Okay, she's going to go get on my recliner. I have a gaming recliner here in my room because I also, I am a gamer as well. And I have a recliner that when I'm watching TV, watching videos, or playing on my PlayStation, I have that over there. So she's going to go cuddle up over there. I put a little bed on it for her. So she loves going over there. Okay, I keep getting off topic. Sorry about that. So anyway, these would be the perfect little bag to put in your carry-on and you know, keep your electronics easy, accessible, and organized in your bag. I also thought that it would be a great bag, a little bit oversized, so you could put your charger in there with it, and everything's together. Or if you're traveling, you could put your charger in, you know, the next size down, whatever you wanted to do. And then the smallest bag for maybe like, you know, chapstick or anything like that. You could just toss it all into your bag and it'd be easy accessible. So I thought this one would be nice as well. Okay, so like I was saying, this one was $1.49 as well. And let's get that one out of the way. And our last bag, the tote bag. Okay, so I have a couple little Luna hairs all over it. What I usually do is I just use a nice big lint roller and clean everything up before I embroider anything. And that way nothing gets in the embroidery while it's being stitched. This bag is a really great sized bag. It's 15 inches by 22 inches by 5.5 inches. And I paid $6.99 for them. And again, it's in the same area, paper crafts. So when you open up the bag, it's got a nice flat bottom. You could even do a piece of cardboard or anything like that. If you wanted a stiffer bottom, you could stick it down in the bottom of the bag, put it, cover it with some, maybe some fabric or anything like that. If you wanted a stiff bottomed bag or a flat bottom bag, you could do that. It does have a really nice zippered pocket inside as well. So you could put your phone in here, you could put your keys in there, whichever. And this is actually the front side of the bag, and it has a pocket in here as well. And I'm using it as the back side of the bag because this little pocket, this would be your only embroidered surface for this side of the bag, and it's relatively small. I would have to, let me show you here. This is the design that I'm using, and you would have to use a design that is really small, and I could still do that. I mean, I could hoop and use a like initials on this side or anything like that, but it is very hard to get a hoop in here and get it on the machine well enough to be able to stitch on this pocket. So I decided what I do is I just flip the bag over and I would use this portion of the bag to embroider on. You could embroider on these side panels as well, but it would be a little bit more difficult hooping those. I know it can be done. You would just have to find the center of this portion of the bag, and when you hoop it, you would have to hoop it in the way that you could get that centered into the hoop and move your needle on the machine so it would be in the correct position. And I know there's ways of doing that, but I just did not want to do that. I didn't want to make the projects any more difficult than what they needed to be. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to be embroidering on this surface. Give me just a moment. I'm going to pause the video for a second and I will be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Little Luna wanted out of the room, so I had to pause and get up and let her out of the room. Okay, as I was saying, I didn't want to make the projects any more difficult than what they needed to be. So I'm going to just be embroidering on this center panel of the bag. And what I did, when you purchase the bags, you will find that not all of them are the same size between these two straps. And what I did is I just took my large ruler and I put my one inch side by 1 inch side in this bottom corner, and I just put it with this bottom black portion and the edge of the strap. And you can see the strap, how it's sewn. It's not just the black portion, it's got a part of the canvas of the strap as well. So I'm just lining that up with the bottom portion of that bag, the black line, and then lining it up so it's right along the edge of that strap. You can see that here. And what I did is I measured from that portion of the strap to this portion of the strap. And it is 7/8 or 7 3/8. Okay, so what I did is I wrote, well, I took my calculator and I took the 7. What I did is I based it on 7 1/4. So I did 7.25. And that little extra eighth is going to give me just a little bit of shy, a little bit of room. So I just rounded it down to 7 1/4. So I took 7 1/4, divided that by 2, and my half would be 3.62. So I wrote that down on a piece of paper. And then for the top portion, I did it as well. And let me show you here at the top. You can see this sewn line right here, and that is what I made the top portion of my bag, because when I flip the bag up, I'm not going to be able to sew past that portion because of the seam and the zipper bag pocket inside. So what I did is I measured from the bottom to that line, and I believe it was 11 inches. So of course, just dividing 11 inches in half gave me 5.5 inches. So what I did is, again, I took my ruler, and what I did is I knew from here to here was going to be 3.625 inches, and that was the 7 1/4 divided in half. So what I did is I took my 5.5, lined it up with the height, and then I'm going to take the 3 and I'm going to just do about 3.5. Okay, so I'm making sure I get that lined up just right with the strap and the bottom of the bag, and I made a dot on the bag for my center. Okay, let me show you that. You can see my little blue, you can see the little blue dot right there, and that's going to be my center. So to hoop this bag, I am going to be using a magnetic hoop. You can use a hoop like this, but it is kind of difficult to get it centered in the machine just right. You could just hoop the bag, measure across the bottom so you get the measurements just right. The first couple bags I did, I used this type of hoop, and I had a really difficult time getting it hooped because the canvas is such a thick canvas that I had to, you can see that I put tape. Let me loosen this just a little bit. Okay, you can see that I put tape on the parts of the hoop, and what that did is it just gave a little bit more grip to the bag in the hoop, and it was just a little bit easier because this is going to be you're going to hoop this section, and I did it like this, and then put this, so this would be, let me show you, you would put this inside your bag, and I want it like this so I can get to the tightening mechanism, the tightening screw, and you would hoop the bag. Now, with the, let me show you here. When you are hooping a bag, when it's a boxed bottom like this, I have it in the bottom section. So what you want to do is you want to try to get the bottom of the bag popped out a little, like so, so you can get that hoop down in there enough. Now, when I first used this hoop, I had a hard time hooping it. It was really difficult. I was having difficult time getting it in the hoop and staying straight, and it just had, I had a lot of difficult times trying, well, I'm not, what, okay, never mind. It was just difficult for me to get it hooped. So I'm going to be using a magnetic hoop, and I'm hoping that's going to solve my problem. So I'm going to bring my hoop up, and I'm not going to talk about this hoop. We're just going to take the bottom frame off, and I'm going to get it into the bag. And as you can notice, I can tell I have been away from filming for a while. I am not putting any stabilizer. And the reason why I'm not stabilizing it is because it would be difficult to get the stabilizer in there at the same time and to keep it without being all creased and puckered. So I'm going to show you how I figured out what works best for me. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, we're going to just, I got the bag part up, and now that I know that this is the center part of where this bag is, I'm just going to, I know I'm not going to be able to get right exactly on that point when I'm stitching. And that is because this portion of the bag. So I need to make sure that I have the hoop at least up to as far as I can to this part of the bag. So I'm just kind of moving it, and I'm almost to the top, to where my limitations are of the edge. Okay, so there we go. Now I know it's not straight in the bag, and that's okay. So I'm going to pop the top of my hoop on, and you can see that it's definitely not centered in no way at all. So what I'm going to do with this type of bag, I am able to kind of, I had to hold it in my lap to do this, but you're able to pull on the bag enough to get it adjusted. And it was a chore getting it adjusted, and I need to pull from this side. And if you are familiar with embroidering on a bag like this, it can be difficult to get them centered just right. So I got the bottom portion tucked in there incorrectly, so we need to kind of pull that out. Okay, so I know I'm still not straight in any way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the top of the hoop back off, because I know I need to move it over just a little bit. And hooping items like this can be difficult. You just have to kind of go trial and error. So what I was figuring when I was trying to get things hooped is that I need to kind of do like some finger measurements if possible. So I'm kind of feeling, I've got 3 fingers over here, only 2 on this side. So I'm trying to just get it in here straight enough. And one of the things I found is that while you're hooping a bag like this, try to find a pattern that you don't have to really center or get straight, because like if a floral, you can kind of like adjust a floral in any direction and it's going to look okay. Some of them. So for this design that I will be doing on here, you do see that it's got a flat bottom. So I got to try to get this design into the machine enough, and I don't think I did a template on these ones. Maybe I did. Let me check. Okay, so this one, this is going to be, I'm going to be using size number 3, which is 6.4 inches by 5.7 inches, and it is 6 inches wide. So this design is this one here. So you can make a copy and cut it out as close as you can to your design, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So what I can do is I can print this particular page out, cut it as close around as I can so I still have my guidelines here, and I'll be able to center this a little bit better. And that's going to help me position it in the frame a little bit easier. So I'm going to make a copy of this. I'm going to cut it out, and then I will be right back. Okay, so I got a printed out template. I'm going to set the original aside, and I am just going to, I just got some cheapo little scissors that I use for cutting paper, and I'm just going to roughly cut this out, but I want to make sure that I keep my lines on here. Okay. Excuse my poor cutting. Okay, so there's my template. So I want to be able to try to get this centered in my hoop as best as I can. Now I can take my water-soluble pen and I can make where the center of the bag is. But this is just, I'm just going to use this as a reference point, because what I'm going to have to do is when I get the bag centered, I can take the hoop out. And you know what, as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and do that. That way I can do this just a little bit easier. And what I'm going to do is, let's pop this back all together. Take my ruler. And I'm going to draw a line. So I know I based it on 3.65. So I'm going to make a line as best as I can here. I'm trying to make sure I get it centered on the bag as much as possible. I'm going to take my marker, and this is just a water-soluble marker, so no big deal. And I'm not perfectly on there, but that's okay. I got it close enough. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I turn the bag, and I know that my middle line from the bottom is 5.5. So I'm going to just take 5.5, put it, line it up with the bottom portion of the bag, find a mark that I can get on here that will give me straight lines, and I'm going to do the same this way. Okay, so there is the center of my bag. Okay, So now what I want to do, when I'm hooping the bag, I want to try to make sure that I get the lines on my hoop with this. So I can at least get the hoop centered in the bag, because I can take the design, that is where it will be centered, right like so. Okay, so I want to make sure that I get the hoop up to here as much as I can. When you hoop difficult items, you want to try to get it as best as possible. With any design, with any project, you want to do that. But with hooping bags that are kind of structured like this, if it's a bag that is a purchase bag like this that you're not making yourself, if I made the bag myself, I would embroider the panels first and then construct the item. But since it is a pre-made item, a blank item, you want to try to get as close as possible. So this is going to be centered on the bag. Okay, I know this portion doesn't, but we're going by the widest portions of the design. So this is where it will be centered. And I can pin this now or move it aside. And since I drew my lines, it's going to be hopefully easier for me to get this hooped accurately. When I hooped and used the round hoops, I had such a difficult time. And the reason why I did have the difficult time is because you can tell it's not a squared corner, they're rounded corners. And I really had a difficult time hooping. If any of you guys know a trick for these, maybe, you know, laying it on a ruler. Somebody told me that, where did I just put my ruler? There it is. That you can lay it down and put it down and maybe try to find your centers on it that way. Mark your centers and maybe where the square comes off onto these rounded cornered hoops. These are just the inexpensive hoops that you get with your machine. This is a 290 by 290 millimeter. And I personally have issues. This is the way it's oriented. This side goes into the right bracket. That's why I keep turning it. I just have a hard time getting stuff centered in this type of hoop because it's not a squared corner. Sure, the other hoop that I'm using isn't a perfect squared corner either, but it has markings on it to help you align your project. So we are going to try keyword to get this in here as accurate as possible. And it does take finessing. Okay, we're going to try it and pop this back on. And definitely, I know I'm not straight, so I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to see how off I am. I'm really off down here on this part. Let me get this back up into frame. I'm really off. And I mean, yes, you can tell that I'm off. But it's not bad this way, getting it in my center marks. It's bad this way. And I know I'm not going to be able to get this center line in the center of the hoop. So I'm going to just try to line it up with some markings on the hoop. And so we are going to try to get this in. Well, keyword try. It, like I said, it's trial and error to get them hooped just right. And I can lift this up a little and kind of move it. You don't want to pull hard to where you are distorting. I know. Okay, so this is on a nice mark here. So I want to try to pull my bag up enough to get it on that same mark, and then pull, and try to get it as accurate as I can. That's the big goal with pre-made bags, where I said you could embroider your panel first and then assemble the bag. That's an attainable goal. I might be saying that incorrectly. But, okay. So now what I want to do, I have some room up here where I want to pull the bag down. I think I want it down more so I can get more of that portion of the bag in, because it's going to be way down here. And you can see where the center line was. I'm about an inch away. I may be able to get up enough up here to be able to get that. So I'm going to pop this back off a little and move the hoop up more. And this way a little. And I know now my bottom is off quite a bit. And I'm just trying. Okay, guys, so I know I'm all fuddly with this and kind of like all over the place. But realistically, this is what you can expect trying to get something hooped. Unless you have like a hooping station to be able to hoop stuff more accurately. You just have to play with it. You have to play with it until you can get it figured out. I have the hoop. Let's see if I can pop that out. Okay, so I have the hoop right up here, right up against that. Can you guys see that? How I have that right up there? I think that's going to be the most I can go. So I just need to try to get it worked in there and as close to those center measurements as I possibly can. It is, you know, trial and error. Getting it in there. I may have, see, this side up here is pretty good, but now down at the bottom of the bag I'm almost like a ½ inch off the bottom part to the left, so I need to kind of move it over just enough and hopefully not mess everything else up. I had the strap in the hoop, and I'm glad I moved the hoop to be able to fix that. Guys, if you do know some other hooping tricks for things like this, please share. I am not going to get to the actual embroidery on this project today. That will be video number 2. I'm just trying to show you what the project's going to be and hooping. Hooping can be difficult. I've been, let's see, a year and a half is all I've been doing embroidery. And I've gotten 3 embroidery machines in that 1.5 year time. I'm definitely kind of addicted to it. And I know that I want to make it, you know, like a money earning eventually. It will take some time. Okay, so I think I have this center part lined up pretty well. let me, I have another, I keep misplacing my ruler. So I'm going to just kind of go to my center marks, and it's pretty close. Now this one, I want to turn the bag sideways, and I know, okay, so 1.5. I have it pretty straight. Here's the line, and the edge of the is just below my edge of the ruler. I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm just below. I am okay with that. So now what I want to do, this is actually a 12.5 inch ruler, so you can see that that fits right into this hoop. Okay, so now what I want to do is, I know it's not perfect. I know it's not by any means, but you want to get it as close as you possibly can. I'm sorry if I'm getting my big head in there. And you can see, okay, so it's not tight, okay? You can see it's not tight in here. Now, and you can notice I didn't put any stabilizer. I am going to pause for just a minute. I think I have company that just pulled up. I will be right back. Okay, sorry about that, guys. We have a house that has just been sold right next door to us, but the vehicle that pulled in looked just like a family member's vehicle. So I just kind of paused for a minute to make sure they weren't coming to my door, that I had company. Okay, so I was saying that I did not get this tight in the hoop, and now what I want to do is I want to get it tight in the hoop. And I was also saying, you noticed that I did not get any stabilizer in the hoop. You can see that inside. And I will show you the reason for that in just a moment. Okay, so what I want to do is I am just going to tug on each side enough to tighten it in the hoop. And I don't want to get it too out of whack, since I kind of found it as centered as possible. So I'm just going to kind of tighten it as much as I can here. And I will periodically check to make sure that I'm still kind of in measurement. And I'm just pulling enough to get it tight. And I don't have it perfectly tight. And that is okay on my particular machine, because I have a tube multi-needle embroidery machine. If you're not familiar with what that is, when you have a single needle machine, it has the flatbed. So this portion of the machine and the embroidery unit is flat. It's all one level surface. So you want to make sure that you get your item hooped as tight as possible. I have found on the machine, my multi-needle machine that has the tube that comes down the center of the machine, it does not have to be as tight as what drum tight would be on other items. And you may have experienced that as well if you have a multi-needle machine, but I'm still going to try to get it just, you know, a little bit tighter. And okay, so let's see. Okay, so you can hear that I got it almost drum tight, and I'm just still kind of working it to get it. I can see I have some wrinkle here. My line's going a little out, so I want to kind of pull down here a little more. So I got the center line tight, and I just want to make sure that I get it, and I want to make sure that that line is going to still, okay, so that sounds good. Okay, so now what I want to do, I got it really kind of out of it there, and I know I'm pulling it so where it's a little distorted, but once I get this design into the machine and on here, like I was saying with florals, so it doesn't really matter. So if now I look at where my center is of the bag, I am going to be about right there. And you can see that it's about an inch, maybe an inch, well, probably not quite an inch and a half lower than center. And that's okay because it does have a straight portion at the bottom of the bag. And, excuse me, I kind of getting the hiccups. I'm trying to keep the bottom of the bag straight and the design lined up with that. So I don't know, I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm trying to get the design as centered, as close as possible. And with florals, this floral does need to be lined up straight. So I'm trying to get it as close as possible. The other florals I will be making on the bag, let me show them to you. I don't have them in the folder for some reason. I think I have them in the bags and the work orders already. So I don't really want to take those off. But when I get to those projects, I will show you what I'm talking about. That in those particular florals, you don't have to get them quite so straight in the bag because they are a floral. You can kind of like turn them a little bit sideways because floral plants don't go straight up. They kind of curve. The stems aren't particularly straight. They blow in the wind. So it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. You just want to get it as close as possible. And it's not going to make that much of a difference for that type of project. If you're doing a project with text or text with a design, you want to kind of get it in there as you don't want to kind of, you want to get it in there as straight as you can. And for this particular bag, it's just not going to be one of those types of projects where it has to be in there perfectly. And I know this isn't straight. I know it isn't, but it's not going to make much of a difference in this particular design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the video here. Oh no, I almost forgot a very, very important step. So I was talking about that I did not hoop stabilizer. And because this is that type of project where you've got to manipulate the bag a little bit to get it into the hoop as best as you can. Stabilizer would not have made that easily. So what I'm going to do is now you can see the inside of the bag and the inside of the hoop. I have my roll of stabilizer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it inside, and I'm just going to judge the piece of stabilizer and put it on each side of the strap, and that's where I'm going to cut it. I'm going to cut it right there. And a good thing about this type of project, I don't have to get it straight, just let's get this cut. These aren't the best scissors for this. I need to actually have them sharpened. Okay, so I just cut it really quickly, and now what I'll do is I'm going to lay it inside. I can lay it this way too, which is probably a better idea. You can see how wonky I cut that. Sorry about that, guys. So what I'm going to do is now I know that's going to fit perfectly. Now, my experience with these bags is that some of the designs sunk into the canvas, and I think what I'm want to do is I'm going to put another piece of stabilizer, and that worked really well. You don't have to do that for all of the projects. I just found that using 2 pieces worked better for my machine. Get a bag. Do a test project. Get one of the cheaper bags if you don't want to do a particular bag like this. Let me show you what I'm talking about by one of the, oops, dropping stuff. So they have bags like this where they have 2 pockets. This is a cheaper bag. I think I paid $3 for it. Get a cheaper bag that you're not too worried about maybe damaging. You can tell that I have these pre-washed and I need to press them and steam them first. But do a test bag and see what stabilizer is going to work best for you on your machine for this type of project. I found on some of the more dense ones, I had to do 2 layers of a medium weight cutaway. Some of them I found only 1 layer. I'm only going to do 1 layer on this particular design, and that is because this particular design is just kind of a straight stitch where it's just 1 single line of thread. This is like a watercolor kind of design, so it's just going to do lines, some stitching. God, sorry guys, I'm losing my words. It's just going to do some straight line stitching and then do an outline stitch over the top of that. So it's not a big, thick, dense design. So 1 layer of stabilizer is going to work perfect. So then what I did, I think I'm going to go ahead and turn it this way because it's going to be easier. So I'm going to open up the bag and I'm going to put the stabilizer inside of it. And you're going to say, well, isn't that going to move around? Well, yes, of course it will move around. And what you want to do is you want to tape it inside. And I used longer pieces. And when I get this taped, I will show you what I'm talking about. So I want to make sure I have enough down there and enough up here. And this is a 12-inch, I think this is, let me see what this stabilizer is. I'm using a 12-inch wide stabilizer, and I found with my particular projects that I use, that's what works for me. I am going to eventually purchase some stabilizer that is 15 inches. And I want to be able to do some larger quilt blocks and things like that that I will need to use that for. And I will show you here what I'm doing in just a moment. Okay. And I have found that on some of the more densely stitched designs, you might want to put a water soluble on top. And that's why I'm saying that you want to do a practice stitch. Get yourself some of the bags and do some practice designs on them so you know what you can expect before you ever sell a design. I'm going to show you here in just a second what I did. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see inside the bag. I have taped across the top, I have taped across the bottom, and on each, I don't know if you guys can see that, on each side, hopefully you can see this one a little bit better, and then I just taped the stabilizer to the inside of the bag. And that is what worked for me on stitching these canvas bags. In the next video, I will be taking this over to the machine and I will show you on what you do for stitching. I'm going to go ahead and end. I'm going to say that if you guys have any tips that make this a little bit easier, please definitely comment down below and let me know what you do that's easier. If you know, it just anything if you guys want to share down below, please share down below and let me know what you guys think, what can make this easier for me to do this, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Stay tuned for the next video because it is going to come up right after this one. They will be one after the other when I post these, so you guys can follow along at your pace. I'm going to be working on a different way that I'm laying out the videos and getting them posted. When I do a series, I will film the series all completely first and then post all of those videos. That way you're not waiting 2-3 days, maybe even 4 in between each video. Okay guys, I will see you really soon. Bye-bye.